Enter the new Era 100s from Sonos. These retail for $249 at launch, and if you have Sonos Ones, the question you might have is, are they worth replacing? To keep it simple, if you have the Sonos One Gen 1 speakers, then yes, they will be noticeably better in every single area, and I can highly recommend the upgrade. Now, if you have the newer Sonos One Gen 2 as a standalone speaker, the stereo pair, the audio improvements that the 100s bring to the table will be noticeable, but stick around and hear me out before you make that purchase decision. Here's why they are better. The Sonos Era 100s have 3 Class D amps powering 3 drivers. The old configuration on the Sonos One consisted of just a single tweeter and a woofer, so just 2 amplifiers in here. But it's a new era for Sonos, and there have been some significant hardware upgrades that improve the sound output. So as I mentioned before, the Era 100s now have 3 amps that power 2 tweeters and a woofer. The tweeters are angled outwards, delivering a wider high frequency sound field, and the woofer is larger by 25% compared to the Sonos Ones. So if you don't have a Sonos sub connected to your Sonos Ones right now, you're going to notice a massive difference in the bass frequencies if you upgrade to the Sonos Era 100s. And because of the positioning of the tweeters, it's going to feel like you have a wider sound stage wherever you place them. And it's not just the larger woofer and additional amp and tweeter that make the difference. Sonos has also had 5 years to improve the waveguide in front of them, which further assists with the sound dispersion, giving you the feeling of a wider soundstage. And listen here, you can now calibrate the speaker's sound signature based on where it is in a room, even if you don't have an iPhone or iPad, because now Android supports Sonos's TruePlay. However, I have noticed the advanced tuning is still exclusive to iOS. Hopefully Android will get an update soon. Anyway, once you tune them for the room that they're in, they will sound better, but also you need to factor in the usability performance upgrades before you get your calculator out and decide whether it's worth spending the money. So here's what's new and improved on the usability front. The capacitive play, pause and skip buttons are pretty much the same, but there's now a new addition of the AI assistant button, and there is the addition of a new volume slider, Groove. So you can slide your finger up or down to adjust the volume, and you can tap either side of this for more micro volume adjustment. On the back are 2 unique user controls, a physical button and a physical switch. And the switch is essential to most people, and especially for privileged people like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It is the privacy switch, which turns off all of the far field mics. And if you're wondering where the far field mics are on this, it's these 4 dots here on the top. And the button at the top here is a Bluetooth pairing button, so you can connect devices via Bluetooth 5.0. And this is not the best way to play audio to these speakers, but it is an option now, so that's good. And probably the best thing about this feature being here is that it will work even if your Wi-Fi messes up. So I personally kind of think of the Bluetooth feature as a backup if the Wi-Fi is not working, or if someone comes around and they just want to connect quickly without having to give them your Wi-Fi password. And for those of you that care about audio quality, I'd always suggest playing to the Era speakers via the Sonos app. And that takes me nicely onto the connectivity upgrades. So if you're familiar with the Sonos Play ones, you'll notice straight away that they've scrapped the Ethernet that was on the back. And that's probably because the Era 100s now support Wi-Fi 6, which is incredibly fast. And if you don't know what Wi-Fi 6 is, or whether your router even supports it, stick around to the end and I can help you with that. You'll notice there's now just a single USB-C port here, which is a multifunctional USB-C port specifically for Sonos's adapters. You can get the analog audio jack adapter, and you can also get the combo adapter, which includes the Ethernet port that was taken away. And I do recommend the combo adapter if you need an adapter at all, because you've only got one port here to use. So I do believe that will be the better option in the long run. And there will be links to all the products I mentioned in this video, including my new sponsor, The Ridge. This is my new Ridge Damascus steel wallet, and this ring is a carbon fiber ring from The Ridge. There'll be a link in the description if you guys want to check any of this stuff out. And of course, you'll get the most up-to-date Sonos prices, because you never know when they're going to run a promo. Anyway, let's go back to another invisible upgrade that Sonos have made to the Sonos Era 100s. They now support Apple AirPlay 2, which is one of the better ways to stream audio to this particular speaker. So here's what I think about potentially upgrading from the Sonos One Gen 2 to the Sonos Era 100s. And the best way for me to do this is tell you my thought process behind this here, because I do have two Sonos Ones as my two rear channels for my home theater setup. So I have personally had to address this dilemma myself. If I do decide to splash out 500 quid on two new speakers to replace two speakers that already sound good and really work perfectly, what am I actually going to get for the money? Well, I found the answer, and it's quite simple really. The Sonos Era 100s are louder, they deliver better detail, they have a more expansive sound field, and their bass output is noticeably better. They also look better in my opinion, and they're easier to use. And it did occur to me the other day when I was pondering this question whilst watching the Fast and Furious movie. On paper at first, it doesn't seem like it makes much sense, but then I realized that I would be freeing up two Sonos Ones that I could then use in potentially two other rooms or as a stereo pair in one room somewhere else in the house. So in reality, it's not so much about replacing the speakers, it's about expanding the family when it comes to my Sonos setup. And if you've ever learned anything from the Fast and Furious franchise, you'll know it's all about family. And so is the Sonos speaker ecosystem, it seems. So the answer to the question, is it worth replacing and upgrading to the new Sonos Era 100s? My opinion is yes, if you can afford it. And it's not so much upgrading or replacing, it's more like adding new additions to your existing system. And on that note, if you want to take things to the next level, to new heights, you definitely want to check out the Sonos Era 300. That's the new Dolby Atmos speaker from Sonos. Thumbnail's on screen right now. You want to learn about Wi-Fi 6? There's the thumbnail on screen right now. That's the Netgear Orbi modem that supports Wi-Fi 6. And if you check either one of those out, I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.